Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Bassi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to everyone out there as well. We begin, as always, with oil prices, which are really going to be in focus this 2025 with Donald Trump. When is Trump being inaugurated? 17 days or so. So we've seen Brent, which is, climbed a bit, by close at 76, came down a little bit from those levels, 75.99. West Texas, North American grade, which has been oscillating between 69 to 70 as we close out 2024, inching upwards to 73. And then, of course, we've updated our Nigeria benchmark, which is 2025, actually, $75 there, natural gas down. Asia markets, Japan is closed until Monday. They're still off for the holidays, but China's kicked off 2025 in the red. So they've had declines now for the last couple of days. The usual worries on demand, industrials, the property sector. So Shanghai Composite Index down by almost 2%. The Kospi, though, pretty interesting. Even with I heard a different media report on the president's standoff on his property, almost being arrested. That's Mr. President Yule. His residence, yeah. So it's 1.87% there with the Kospi climbing. I think SK Hynix, Samsung, there was some rally in technology stocks. I think SK Hynix put out an announcement that they want to essentially become some kind of one-stop AI shop. So their stock jumped about 6%. So that really helped the Korean indexes climb. So we look at the Nifty to replace Japan in India. That was down. Hang Seng in Hong Kong up by about 14 basis points. And then Australia's ASX S&P 200 up as well. So pretty much a mixed bag on the Asian front. The People's Bank of China is in focus, though. It looks like they're going to be engaging in some kind of, you can call it maybe monetary policy reform. They have so many rates. I mean, we cover a lot of their rates here. You've got the LPR, the loan prime rates, the 1 year, the 5 year. You've got the 7-day reverse repo. They also give guidance to banks and this and that. So it looks like they want to make a shift. They were speaking to the Financial Times. And if we take a look at the reforms that they're looking at, they're saying they might cut the RRR, that's the reverse repo rates, at an appropriate time in 2025. So we might see a rate cut there. That 7-day repo rate is currently at 1.5%. They also said they want to shift from quantitative objectives in some of the guidance that they give out to banks in terms of reserve levels. And basically, it looks like they want to make this 7-day reverse repo rates the rates that really essentially impacts the rest of the markets, in line with the Fed funds rates over in the United States and then the European Central Bank, the ECB. So I think there was a quote that they gave to the Financial Times, essentially encapsulating that point. It said the PBOC, People's Bank of China, will pay more attention to the role of interest rate control and improve the formation and transmission of market-oriented interest rates, which basically means that whether it's a rate cut or rate hike, how that translates over to the rest of the market. So essentially, when you're dovish and you make cuts on rates, you make money cheaper to get for people who want to buy a new BYD vehicle or get a house loan, so on and so forth. But remember that China is in the deflationary environment where prices are falling anyway. So, how much more attractive does that mean? But then still, they want to stimulate the economy because, again, Donald Trump comes in about 17 days. And when he comes in, there's the threat of tariffs and so on and so forth. So China's economy really is, among so many other things, is going to be in the spotlight. So we move on from there over to the United States, where we saw the indexes over in the U.S. actually fall to open 2025. So this is as of closing of yesterday. Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 0.36%. S&P 500 fell by 22 basis points. The Dow and the S&P now, I think, have fallen for about 5 consecutive days. I haven't seen a fall like that level since April of last year of 2024. The Santa Claus rally is now in danger. That, of course, is a rally that takes the last 5 trading days of 1 year into the first 2 trading days of the new year. And S&P 500 historically has done about 1.3%, 80% of the time during that rally. But now that is in danger because it looks like, they're looking at maybe profit taking and some other things. The NASDAQ, that also declined. Tesla's annual deliveries didn't meet. I think this was their first miss on annual deliveries since reporting started. BYD has now beaten out Tesla in terms of annual deliveries for 2 years in a row. So Tesla fell about 6%, Apple fell almost 3%, about 2.8 or so. So those dragged down the Nasdaq. Still in the U.S., President Biden, this was the big news coming out this morning on the wires. Biden looks like he's going to block the Nippon Steel bid for U.S. Steel. So we've covered this extensively since the bid was first announced. Nippon Steel is from Japan, massive steel company. They're looking to purchase U.S. Steel, which, by the way, is located in Pennsylvania, where Biden comes from. The unions there have opposed it because they worry about job cuts and they worry about Nippon not making enough investments in the U.S. The CFIUS, that's the CFI-US, is the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States. They were supposed to give a report to President Biden, which they have submitted, but they didn't make a formal recommendation on whether or not the deal should go through. But they did cite security concerns. By security concerns, they are worried that there will be less steel production in the United States that favors Japan. However, if Biden does block this deal, and it looks like he will because he opposed it, Trump opposed it, Kamala Harris opposed it, the unions in Pennsylvania opposed it. If he does, this now puts into question whether or not the United States is a welcome investment environment for sensitive areas of the economy like steel. Also, Japan is a big ally of the United States, and this is likely to ruffle some feathers over in Japan. Plus, Japan is one of the biggest, when we talk about sources of foreign direct investment into the United States, Japan, I think, is second to China in terms of holding of U.S. debt. So there's a lot of ramifications here if this doesn't go through. And Nippon Steel has said that they will likely take this to courts, just like TikTok is taking the U.S. government to court if Biden ends up blocking this deal. So we'll see. And we're expecting an announcement later on today. To tech, you've heard about the, Turo is an app that has come under the spotlight following that deadly attack in New Orleans, Louisiana on New Year's Day. And also you'll see this Tesla vehicle, look at that Cybertruck. It exploded in front of a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. The gentleman it was apparent suicide, he blew up this truck. I don't know what kind of significance he was trying to make. He picked a Tesla vehicle and it was in front. These are patrol cars in New Orleans. Somebody took a vehicle and rammed into a crowd of people who were celebrating New Year's. 10 of them died, 30 of them were injured. Turo is a peer-to-peer lending app that allows you to rent vehicles. And they apparently have this vetting system which has come into question because in both cases, the Cybertruck that blew up in front of Trump's hotel and this vehicle that was used in New Orleans that rammed into people, both of them were rented on the Turo app. So the peer-to-peer lending company in San Francisco, they're looking to go and get on the stock exchange. So right now, there's a lot of focus on them right now. We move from there to round off with Nigeria, the telecommunications sector. We had the CEO of MTN Nigeria, Carl Toriola, on, just to put into focus how important. You look at this table here. ICT, the ICT sector, is basically made up of 4 subsectors. You're looking at telco, publishing, MPSRMP is basically motion picture, sound recording, and music production. And then you've got the area we are all in, which is broadcasting. As you can see from there, it's not even close. The telco sector, in terms of real GDP growth from Q1 2023, even beyond that, up to Q3 2024, has outpaced every other subsector in the ICT. So it's the crown jewel. In graphical terms, if we use a bar chart to represent the same information on this table, you'll see that the telco sector in orange is higher than ICT, which is in yellow, and higher than all the others. So again, that is the same table just expressed in graph form to show you the growth. In terms of the contribution to economic activity, we should have a top 10. You can see telecommunications and information services contributing about almost roughly 14%, coming third after crop production and trade. So look, your New Year's messages you send, the amount of money you transferred over Christmas, remember when that undersea cable was cut last year and how it impacted everyone, news stations, people and so on. So telcos are incredibly important. And the debate, of course, has been on the fact that they are not allowed to raise tariffs. That is the cost of doing business. You look at MTN's Q4, what was this Q? Yeah, 9 months, 2024. Service revenue did very well, 2.4 trillion, 33% growth. But you look at their subscriptions, dropped a little bit, but the key thing is the net FX loss of 904 billion. 400 billion of that was realized. Unrealized is 500 billion. So that could still, get bigger. The loss after tax of 514 billion. So here's Carl Toriola. We had him on the Global Business Report, essentially making the point that they are seeking a 100% increase in tariffs. Again, their revenue, their liabilities are in dollars, revenues are in naira. So there's that mismatch. Well, here he is.
Subsequently, 2 or 3 things have happened. One, the devaluation of the currency. Official rates have gone from about 420, 450 to about 1,550 odd at the end of the year. So that has driven our cost structures up drastically. So in paying for diesel has gone from pre-COVID times from 200-300 naira to 1,000 plus naira. Petrol has gone up several fold. The cost of power generation, the cost of procuring raw materials, what we call raw materials is a lot of things, batteries, fiber cables, base stations, towers, etc., to actually roll out and maintain these networks. We pay software licensing fees for these networks. Those costs have gone up astronomically. So the costs that we're expending are actually exceeding our revenue, even though we are seeing revenue growth. And there's no way that the industry can continue to sustain itself and provide the required quality of service under this structure. Now, we've put forward requests of approximately 100% tariff increases to the regulators. I doubt they're going to approve that quantum of increases because they're very, very sensitive to the current economic situation in the country. But we're hopeful and optimistic that the realities are staring us in the face and the right decisions will be taken for the sustainability of the industry.
For today.
Thank you so much for that, Rotus. Now, the thing with policy, right, is that you have to be fair.
Right.
So we can't say we're deregulating the oil sector and then now the telco sector has to go through this rigorous process in order for them to be able to just break even. This isn't even searching for a profit. They're just trying to operate. And everything he said, we don't even need to over-explain it. We're all feeling it in our homes at a micro level, right? We know that the cost of everything has gone up. So to still expect the telcos to operate at this, it's just an unbelievable parameter that has been set. I remember last year they were even threatening that they would have to be doing some sort of load shedding with regards to providing telco services. I do think that load shedding is happening because there are some places where at certain times there's just no network whatsoever, and you can't blame them. And this is an industry that's arguably, like you said, it's central to national security. So let them open up their books, and like they've opened up their books. They're being transparent. Let's hear them, because they haven't started saying this. It's only now that I think the 100% figure has been added to it. But they've been advocating for an increase in tariffs for almost 1 year now, and that's just unfair for private companies who are just, they're employers, they're job creators, they're contributing to the economy positively. The telco industry is one of the most unproblematic industries in this country. So I wish they would get the support that they require. Then very quickly, Nippon Steel and Joe Biden, earlier we were looking at South Korea and, just U.S. relations with that part of the world. Yep. It will be interesting to see, because a lot of people were worried about how this will impact those the diplomatic relationships. Yep. It'll be interesting to see what the fallout will be.
Fascinating year
especially
ahead.
as Donald Trump was also against this deal.
Exactly.
So let's see what that will look like.
Yep.
Okay, the Nippon Steel, U.S. Steel deal was approved by shareholders, stakeholders of U.S. Steel in April. However, it still needed to go through the Committee on Foreign Investment. The Committee on Foreign Investment could not reach a consensus on whether or not the deal should go through. And the effect was that, Nippon Steel of Japan now said, well, it would respect the right of the President of the United States to veto the deal. President Joe Biden himself did not support the deal that a strategic national asset like U.S. Steel will be taken over by the Japanese. Now, President Biden also opposed it during his campaigns and after. He had been saying, look, this whole idea of Nippon Steel coming to take over U.S. Steel, that it will be like allowing the Japanese to take over U.S. sovereignty. And he was saying that it will be one of the first things he will block upon his assumption of office. The same way he has tried to put his leg and mouth in the matter of the TikTok, court ruling, ahead of the Supreme Court decision, I think on January 9. So this is the situation. And I think that President Biden will seem to have acted proactively by saying that, look, he will not support this. Because in any case, if he acted differently, President Trump will come and take his own decision with regard to that. That's that about that. You talked about Tesla. Tesla stock dropped 7% yesterday. Now, at the beginning of the year, there were fears that Tesla was not going to do well, but it improved during the year. But by the fourth quarter, in terms of productivity, in terms of deliveries, Tesla had dropped drastically. Now, the big news about Tesla, everyone will remember, will be Elon Musk playing a major role in President Trump's campaign in 2024, donating as much as about $277 million, with which he has now been rewarded with managing government regulatory agency. Yeah. But you now brought up the story between the Tesla Cybertruck in front of the Trump Las Vegas hotel, and also the incident in New Orleans involving Shamsuddin Jabbar. The incident in Las Vegas was a Special Forces sergeant who was in the Tesla Cybertruck. His name is Lee Berger. Now, the FBI, as at yesterday, had determined that there was no connection between the two incidents. They have also established that, Shamsuddin Jabbar acted alone and that, there will be no connection with the Islamic State. So those are the threats in that story. Number 3 is that Bitcoin is being projected to rise to as much as $225,000 this year because of regulatory authority. And the expectation is that 2025 will be the golden age of Bitcoin with President Trump in charge. Yeah. But the final story I'd like to draw attention to is this fight beginning from January 1 between or among Slovakia, Moldova, Russia, Ukraine. The 5-year deal between Russia and Ukraine, for the transportation of gas to Central Europe ended on January 1. Yeah. And Slovakia, that is the main entry point, making as much as 500 million euros, on the deal per annum, says no, Ukraine cannot rob them of money. Ukraine says you cannot also rob us of our blood. So there is that conflict in that part of the world.
What a year.
The Moldova says it's suffering.
We just started the year.
2025.
Oh my goodness. Very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.